like to introduce y'all to the king. I like to introduce y'all to the king. Now all I need is my crown and my ring. Now all I need is my crown and my ring. I like to introduce y'all to the king.
All right, welcome to KQ Life Motivation. I'm Zuhair, aka Mr. J. This is our first ever episode of the Skills Interview, which stands for, once again, sharing knowledge improves living life successfully. I am here today with Queen, and I'll let her introduce herself.
So hi, I'm Crystal Dewberry. So I'm just gonna, share a little bit about me, hopefully, not take too long. But a little bit about me. So born and raised in Brooklyn.
Brooklyn?
Yeah, you already
Stand up. I know they making noise already.
You already know the vibes.
Yeah.
Like
Best
borough. Don't let nobody tell you differently, especially the Bronx. So born and raised in Brooklyn on a cold January Monday. But yeah, I was born and raised in Brooklyn. For those that are familiar with, the New York City, Brooklyn area, like born and raised in Brownsville.
Stand up.
So Brownsville is considered one of the toughest and roughest neighborhoods in Brooklyn. Just, doing a little bit of research on Brownsville, like really high crime rate, a lot of poverty, not a lot of, I want to say, opportunities for a lot of young people, or even just people in general. Just very, the resources are very scarce, and that type of thing. So growing up, went to school in Brownsville. So my parents are married, still married to this day, and they were actually born and raised in Georgia. So it was very interesting.
Georgia stand up.
Georgia stand up. Georgia. So it was very interesting, having more traditional older parents and growing up in that more traditional lifestyle, where a lot of my friends, either came from single parent households or dysfunctional households or broken homes and stuff like that. And people used to look at me like, oh, your parents married? Like, your
right.
dad? Like, they looked at me like I was crazy. I was
right.
like, oh, that's not the norm? Like, okay. I also do have an older brother. So me and my brother, we were tight. But being that we're 9 years apart, like, I was very close with my mom. So I used to do everything with her, like grocery shopping, everything. Like, you saw her, you saw me. So I was like, okay. And that's why she kept me, like, within Brownsville. Like, my elementary school was right across the street. My middle school was like a couple streets down, and then my high school, so what's funny about that is there's two high schools in my building. My mom worked at one high school, and then I went to the other one in the same building. That was tragic. So just growing up, my parents were overprotective, like very overprotective with me and my brother. They were like, we know that the streets is rough, we know these things are
right.
rough, but we want to make sure that you and your brother Chris are safe. So
shout out Mama Love, man. Shout out Mama Love.
And has its pros and cons for sure. I definitely will say, and I'll get a little bit more into that later, but definitely a lot of pros when it comes to, like, just my upbringing and what I value for myself and how to carry yourself as a woman, especially as a Black woman. Definitely my parents taught a lot of that. My dad was teaching my brother and I, this is how a man support his wife. This is how a man support their children. This is how a man's supposed to treat you. Like, subconsciously, he was teaching my brother and I, this is what your marriage should look like. This is what foundation looks like. So didn't get it at the time, but I definitely get it now. But
shout out Pops.
Shout out to Pops. But back to just a little bit of my upbringing. She was very overprotective. I was involved in, like, a little extracurricular activities, but not too much, because again, like, when night hits, it gets rough.
Shed some light on that.
So I would say, stop and frisk was very huge in New York City. I would say from like 2006 to like 2011, 2012, stop and frisk was really bad. So my brother, 6'3", tall, dark skinned, he always got stopped by the police. And when I was in middle school, I also saw, like, a lot of my male friends being stopped by the police too. Like, we would just be out of school, we're walking home, or we're, there was a chicken spot, if y'all in Brownsville, y'all know Papa's the chicken spot, they got some good chicken. But they'll be at the corner and the police will just stop them, like, empty your pockets, where's your ID? And we're like, we're 11, 12, and 13, like, what ID? Like, you don't have an ID in, like, middle school. I mean, you have your school ID, but that's about it. And seeing that, it was ingrained in, that's, I think, when I first noticed that like the system was not built for us. Like it was against us, because just growing up, you're like, okay, you obey the police, okay. But once I got to like middle school, I saw like the real, like, this is how you're treated as a Black person. And just hearing my stories of like my male friends, especially from my brother, like it was very frustrating hearing that. So, and of course, when night falls, like that's when a lot of shootings and stabbings and other things that happen in the area. So my mom was like, yeah, if your after school activity ends at like 5 or 6, in the wintertime and it's dark by that point, she's like, I'm picking you up. Like, you ain't walking home. We ain't doing public transportation. I'm picking you up. Or like have a like friend's mom or friend's dad, drop us off or whatever. Right. So seeing that was very difficult. But when I got to like 16, I was thinking about college. I knew I wanted to go to college, probably like ever since middle school. I knew, because the middle school I went to, each of our classes was named after Ivy League schools. So they were like instilling in us, at 6th grade, like, you're going to college, and let's aim high. Let's not aim for just, no offense, but, they were teaching us to aim high. So like our class was named like Harvard, Yale, Oxford, Cornell, and Dartmouth, all those Ivy League schools. And with that, I knew I wanted to go to college. So when I was, by junior year, 16, I'm like, let me start doing extracurricular activities. Let me start building up my resume for college. So
this was at 16?
At 16, yep. At 16, I was like, all right, I'm in my junior year. I'm taking SATs. Let's get some extracurricular underneath my belt. So the first thing I'll give credit that definitely helped me and shaped me to, my later going to college and what my major with that is an internship I had called Brownsville Youth Court. And that opened my mind a lot with what I wanted to do and with the criminal justice system. So with that opportunity, we received cases from teens ages 10 to 18 in Brownsville that committed like low-level offenses. So like truancy, petty larceny, fair invasion, stuff like that. And instead of them going through the juvenile justice system, they'll come to us and get their their case closed. So they admit their wrongdoing, they admit their responsibilities, and, we as peers give them sanctions. So we played the role as judge, jury, bailiff, and instead of prosecutor and defender, we were community advocate and youth advocate. So the community advocate was someone, we wrote our statements, kind of like a prosecutor, but more how their offense affected the community, which sometimes a lot of young people don't think about. They think it only affects themselves, but like knowing that, okay, if you did fair invasion, do you know that your fair invasion is costing the city this much, in costs and stuff like that. And then the youth advocate will be someone that will highlight the positives within that youth. So it's like, okay, they go to school every day, they are in extracurricular activities, they're straight A student, like highlight them, but also admitting that what they did was wrong. Like they take full responsibility, they will complete any sanctions that you'll give them, blah, blah, blah. And that opportunity was amazing. It definitely helped me with leadership skills, helped me with my public speaking, because I was very shy with public speaking.
Doing good right now. You're doing good right now.
And I got to know some other, at the time, my other coworkers from other schools. So I met some other people that went to like, other high schools. We did community service ourselves. So the sanctions we were giving out, we actually did them. We're not just giving them out just for, just to do it. We were like, no, like we did the community service ourselves, and it really helps. And if you want to continue to do it, then you can. And we did have, teens that did that. They'll do community service and they're like, I like it. I want to continue to do it because it feels good giving back to my community. So I did that up until I was 18, because after 18, you can't do it anymore. And from that point on, I was like, I want to major in criminal justice. I want to do something with young people. I want to continue to help young people that look like me. And I want to get to know how corrupt the system is, so I'll know as a Black woman how to protect myself and for my future kids. And from that point, that's when I started looking at schools. So I already knew I didn't want to go to community college. I was like, we're not doing that. So coming from an overprotective household, I was like, I want the true college experience. I want the whole 4-year
get away
shebang. Yes.
Okay.
Getting far away. So I visit a couple schools, visit some private schools. At first I thought I wanted to go to a private school, and then I started looking at how much it costs, and I was like, we're not putting my parents in debt for this. So we're just going to say no to the private schools. So I also applied to SUNY schools, and I visited Brockport. And I was like, never heard of Brockport. What is a Brockport? What's this? So visit
Brockport.
So visit Brockport, April of 2013. They had the Ellsworth bus trip. Ellsworth is our school mascot. That's his name. So they had that bus trip where New York City kids and then Long Island kids, they're seniors that can come up, stay, the night and really see if that college was right for them. Because I was like, whatever college I'm going to, I want to see and feel like if it's the right school for me. Right. I visited Brockport and it just felt right. It was far away from home, good 7 hours.
In the sticks.
But we were culturally shocked when we first came. I remember vividly just being on the bus. We were like, oh, there's lawnmowers and deer signs. We like, oh, what we get ourselves into? And then as they're driving into the campus, we're like, where's civilization? Like, where's the school? And then all of a sudden, you get on that Brockport Spencerville Road and you go into the school. You're like, oh, okay. This is a nice little vibe. And then we like, oh, it ain't no corner stores. Like, we can't get our chopped cheese. We can't get our BLTs. This is tragic. But I really liked it. I met a lot of people. I met a lot of students. And I was like, if I can make meet this many people, overnight, how many more can I make in 4 years?
Right.
So, and I saw they had criminal justice. The price was right. That was the main thing. And I was like, all right, I'm going to Brockport. And I was super excited. So I went to Brockport, stayed there all 4 years, majored in criminal justice. Those classes were very interesting. Very interesting. I will definitely say criminal justice at Brockport was very heavily white male dominated. So most of the time I was either one of the only or the very few person of color in the class. I'm even saying person of color because it wasn't barely any like Hispanics in the class or like Asians in the class. I was like, oh, all right, just me. Or you see that one other person like, up like
right, yeah, you click immediately.
Yo, you just do like, oh, hey, what's up, how you doing? So yeah, that was very interesting. I remember vividly, and this was probably like my first time I ever really experienced racism like right in my face. So what class was it? I don't remember what class it was, but it was like a prerequisite class that you have to take for criminal justice. And this professor, he was Indian. And he was the chair of the department, and we were learning about the Rodney King case. So he showed the video. As soon as the video was over, he was looking around the class. He was like, Crystal, what do you think about the video? The whole class looked at him like, bro, why you had to like do that? Like, why you had to call her out like that? And I felt so embarrassed, and I really didn't know what to do in that situation. Because like prior to that, I never ever like really experienced like racism back in New York City, because like in New York City is very, very diverse, and even within my neighborhood, a lot of people are African American or Hispanic, but a lot of people was from like the Caribbean islands, so it was more diverse, culturally, not really racially. So like just being discriminated against like in the class, I was like, I don't really know how to handle this. But he was the chair of the department. I couldn't even be like, let me go to the chair. Like, you are the chair. But now I know like there's someone over the chair and stuff like that, but I didn't know it at the time. I just kind of like swallowed my pride. I was like, this guy controlled my grade. Really not the greatest professor, but we're gonna make do. Like, we're gonna get through it. So but yeah, being at Brockport was very interesting. Right. Very interesting experience, like just culturally and racially and all of that. A lot of stuff went down. A lot of racial stuff went down at Brockport, especially around 2015, 2016 era. That was when, who got elected. So yeah, it was a lot. But I made it out. I wouldn't change honestly anything from my college experience. Like, I've learned and gained so many things, did so many things that I knew if I would have stayed in New York City, I would have never been this open-minded like I am today.
That's that change in environment right there.
Yes, a huge change in environment. Like, knowing that when I went to Brockport, that was my first time ever, being out of the country, because I studied abroad in Vietnam. And being in Vietnam for 4 weeks was just amazing. Like, it just shocked me culturally. And having classmates that were, from Korea or from Italy or from UK. Like it was so like it was dope.
Right,
Like I
right,
was
right.
like, okay, cool. This is lit.
Right.
And just interacting with people that's different from your mindset, because being from the city, like pretty much we all kind of like on that same type of time. Like you grind, you get your money, you stay to yourself, you do you. But at Brockport there were people that were friendly, people that was holding doors for me. I'm like, oh, y'all hold doors, that's what's up. Like
Right.
in the city they're like, oh well, you missed it. Like
Right.
so it was very, very interesting, but I
Right.
wouldn't change not a thing about my college experience. Like
Got you.
definitely helped me.
So man, just to recap, you got a queen straight out of Brownsville, college life, right? So one thing, I'm gonna give him a little bit of background. See, I know this queen for a while now, and one thing that really sticks out to me, that she's known for to me, her queendom is self-care, right? I know that you are big on self-care, right? So why don't you shed some light on that? Like, one, why is that so important, and how you feel like other people can implement that in their life?
So I'm a social worker now. So for us, definitely in the social work field, or even just in the mental field, self-care is very important. And we even implement that at my job now, which is amazing. Like my supervisor is always like, self-care is number one. If you're not feeling well, if you're mentally not doing well or anything like that, that's okay. Especially now, during this whole pandemic, you're
Yeah,
able to work
fact.
from home.
Right.
So that's, if you're not, even if you're not, feeling well or whatever, you're still able to work from home. Or if you really just don't even feel like doing that, like take a day to yourself. So I realized the importance of self-care. I want to say 2015. 2015 was pretty rough year for me. There was a lot of things that were going on. I was in a terrible, terrible relationship, very toxic relationship. And on top of that, that's when my last grandparent passed away. So my mom's mom passed away in 2015. And I knew her the most because my other grandparents, most of them, well, my grandfathers died before I was born, so I didn't know them. But the grandmother, the one I shared my birthday with, my dad's mom, she passed away when I was 6. So like my mom's mom, I knew her, pretty well. So to have her pass away, I was like, oh man, that's like the last grandparent I have. So it was just a lot that was happening in 2015. And I noticed that like I started to get physical symptoms of like mental health mental health illness. So prior to that, I definitely come from a household where it's like you brush yourself off. You don't talk about your mental health.
Right.
There's no breaks in the real world. Like you work, you get this money, you take care of your family, you take care of yourself. And if you have some issues, you pray to God about it. I come from a also traditional Southern Black church. So any problems you have, you just pray about it and go to church.
Right.
There was no like, take a day for yourself. There was no, let's talk about how you're feeling, what's happening. It was kind of like, this is life. This is how life is. And once I started to get physical symptoms, like the hair falling out, losing weight rapidly, like I probably lost like 20 pounds in like 2 weeks. It was crazy. My skin being very pale. Like, and my friends actually noticed it before I did. Like I knew I was sad, but I didn't know it was depression because I felt sad every day.
Right.
And I'm like, why do I feel sad every day? This is not normal. Right. So my friends kind of almost like forced me, gave me an ultimatum to like go to counseling. And I'm glad they did because they noticed the signs before it got really bad. And once I started to go to counseling, and shout out to my friends for actually getting me to counseling because I now have a Black counselor. Shout out to the Black counselors because it wasn't a lot at Brockport. So, so I got a Black counselor, a Black female counselor too. So to have someone that looked like me counseling me, I'm like, this is dope. This is lit. So that's when I knew I had, and she started talking about like self-care and she's like, no, this is not normal. Let's undo of what you learned at that point, the 20 years in your life. Like, yes, we're going to talk about mental health. Yes, we're going to talk about self-care days. We're going to talk about things that help you in the physical sense and the spiritual sense, like everything.
Right.
So, and she said the first step about it is we're actually going to talk about the trauma you experience. So, different trauma and things I experienced growing up, like, being underneath a overprotective household, coming to the conclusion that low key, you have some narcissism in your family. Ugh. Trauma that, I endured in the community, just witnessing trauma or even just seeing trauma on TV. Like, that is a lie, especially, the news and the media. They focus on the negative. Or if they even talk about something positive, it will be like 5 seconds. It's like, that's it.
Gems.
Yeah. So, focusing on all of that just wasn't good for me. And also just personal trauma that I've experienced that I kind of put on the back burner, but it all resurfaced once I started talking about it. So like suffering from like low self-esteem, suffering from sexual assault trauma, like actually talking about that and putting that in the open, that was a lot for me because I buried it for so long. Again, you don't talk about it. You sweeping underneath the rug. It's okay. Like, pray about it.
Right.
And so for her having me to like write a letter to myself and to say to myself, yes, you experienced trauma. Yes, you experienced these things, but that's okay. And we're going to talk about it, and knowing that you're here today and you made it today and you're going to make it tomorrow. And we're going to start doing things that help you. Right. And that helped a lot. I think once I saw just how mental illness can affect the physical, that's when I knew it was real. That's when I knew it just wasn't people using mental illness as an excuse. Or, stuff like that. And unfortunately, within the Black community, there's still a stigma that's like, if you have mental illness, you're weak. You're not the strong Black woman. You're showing weakness.
It's queen talk right here. That's queen talk. I might have to slow that down, rewind that for a second. That's queen talk right here.
Yeah, you have to take days to take care of yourself. So, take
days. Write that down. Write that down.
Take days, yes. So, seeing how it affected the physical and undoing all of that. And also, from that point on, from 2016, I've gained a huge confidence. And I also contributed that to joining my sorority. Joining an amazing sisterhood really gave me that confidence because being that I don't have any biological sisters, I wanted a sisterhood. And I wanted a sisterhood that looked like me. If y'all know Brockport. Yeah, hella white. So listen, I didn't know what other way to say it.
We'll get more. We'll get more into Brockport, man. But we're gonna leave them alone.
But I was like, I want to join a sisterhood, a Black sisterhood, for the most part. So I did. I joined an amazing sisterhood, and it changed my life. It gave me that confidence. It gave me that boost that I truly, truly needed.
Got you.
Truly, truly need it. So I would say from that point on, and other things that I did that's outside the box, like, speaking at leadership conferences at Brockport, like people will come up to me like, yo, Krista, we want you to speak at our event. I'm like, me, like,
right.
But they're like, there's something about you, Crystal, that's just so captivating. Like you have a story and, we want people to hear your story. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like,
right. Big.
So once I started doing that, it just gave me so much confidence. And, from that, I just built that confidence. I'm still building that confidence, now. I'm a work in progress. That's like one of my favorite quotes. Like, I'm a work in progress. But I'm definitely am in a much better space now, physically, spiritually. And now that I have acknowledged that I have anxiety and depression, which is fine. But acknowledging that and knowing how to manage that in a healthy and positive way, that's what's important. Because I was handling it in a very negative way. Right. But now, since I have the tools from my counselor and being aware of it, it helped me tremendously. So.
Yeah, that's major. And now, your credentials. Just give me a few lines. You just recently graduated, right?
I did.
Tell him. I'll let you tell him. I just like to say that title.
Got my bachelor's in criminal justice and sociology in 2017. Recent grad, again, 2-time alum at Brockport. Just got my M.S.W, master's in social work in May. Had to write a whole 35-page thesis in quarantine.
Hey.
That was something. That's
fun. Somebody had something to do at least.
That was, ooh. But I did it. So very proud of, my credentials and what I have. And what makes my love of social work and my love for, this field is that I'm literally helping clients and people that look like me. And to me, that doesn't feel like work. at all. Like the only part, honestly, the only part about social work that is work is the documentation piece.
Right.
But other than that, like the rapport, the relationship building, because I'm just a people person. I love to meet with people. I love to get to know people, to hear their stories and stuff. And, you know, and I'm like, okay, I do that with social work. Cool. So I love it. I absolutely love it.
That's what's up. That's queen work right there. So with that,
PhD might be coming soon. Look out for that.
Loading PhD. That's what's up. Wow, man, we definitely appreciate that, and you know that this is what I'm hearing right now, man. Is listen, we overcame Brooklyn, the mean streets of Brooklyn. You know, we didn't overcame dealing with managing mental health issues, but you're still able to achieve these great things. So when it comes down to KQ life, king life, queen life, what does that mean to you? What does that mean, king life or queen life? For you, queen life. What does queen life really mean to you?
For me, queen life is being your true authentic self. Like whatever that means to you, because that looks different and that means different to each, you know, woman. But for me, it's being confident in yourself. You know, like when you walk into a room, like you captivate your audience. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to do anything. It's just your aura, your energy is there. Like people be like, something about her. I don't know what it is, but it's something about her. Being independent, not having to depend on anyone. You know, if you have your own means, if you're a hard worker, like you do you know, and I'm very big on that. Like I like to have my own because I don't like people throwing it back in my face. Well, I did this for you and you did. Now that's goes to say, don't ask for help when you need help.
Right.
That's different. But, you know, just having your own, like having your own place, your own car, your own everything. Like you own that. Because when you own it, it's like, I don't have to listen to anybody. I will also say with queen life, what else I was going to say? I was going to say something else. I forgot. I will also say challenging yourself as well. I'm someone that do like to challenge myself because I feel like we grow each and every day. And, you know, life is short. So, you know, in the short time that you're here, definitely challenge yourself in so many ways. And that is so open-ended. That can mean anything.
That's a fact.
But I think, you know, if you do something challenging, at least like once a week, that's cool too. So, yeah.
Right.
I think that's what queen life is for me.
Appreciate that. Now, the slogan, our slogan, I thought it was up here, but it ain't up here. So I was gonna actually put it on the wall somewhere. But all right, so wherever my feet take me, that land I shall conquer. We get a little feedback, some flack every now and then for that phrase. Some people take it out of context. But so wherever my feet take me, that land I shall conquer. What's that mean to you?
First off, I like that slogan.
Hey,
a lot.
So shout out the slogan, man. I don't know if I saw the shirt or not. Hey,
for me, slogan, that means wherever you are, not that you own it, but I think it goes back to what I said earlier. Like when you walk into a room, your aura, your energy, your persona is there. So I feel like with that quote, it's like wherever your feet land, that's where you are. Like presently, mentally, physically, you're there.
Right.
And what you bring to the table, people will notice. And people will pick up on that. So I think that's what it means. Like you just own it in your way.
Owning it. That's what's up. Now lastly, if you notice on the King Life, Queen Life, you know, the KQ Life motivation, on the logo, the K and the Q is backwards. Right? Now there's a reason for that. And once we get a certain amount of subscribers, I may or may not release the reason why. But until then, y'all gonna have to keep guessing. All right. But what do you think that means? What does that mean to you, or why do you think that is? Why the K and the Q is backwards against the L?
For me, okay, so when I see it like this, the K and the Q that way, it's like the king and the queen need each other. It's not that one's leading the other, even though I will also say I'm a little traditionalist in this sense where I do feel in some instances the man should lead. That's another conversation for another day. But I feel like in this context, the king and the queen need each other. It's not like one is more valuable than the other. It's like they both, literally both of them equally need each other. You know, again, in the physical sense, spiritual sense, mental sense, like they both need each other. Okay. And it could also read that no one's in front of the other either. Like when I read it, it's not like KQ. It could read like KQ or QK. So, which I think is pretty dope. And with the K in front of the L, the Q. Well, it's actually really interesting with the Q in front of the L because low key it doesn't even look like it's backwards. Right. So it looks like the queen is in front of the L. But I like that too because also in life, you know, I think it's the same thing. You know, life is kind of what you make it. You know, looking at it in the more positive sense of like, you know, you needing life to, I don't want to say help you in a sense, but like you receive help in life. Right. You know, just as the same way the queen, you know, needs the king and the king needs the queen, there's definitely some instances in life, both positive and negative, that has helped you. There's definitely some things positively in my life that helped me and some things negatively, but I wouldn't change it. And I feel like everything happens for a reason and everything happens in its own place for its reason. So yeah, that's how I look at it.
That's what's up.
And the crown's a cute too.
Hey, well, we definitely appreciate your time. I definitely appreciate your time.
Of course.
Stopping
Thank
by.
You for having me.
Showing some
and
love.
The first one, I feel so honored.
Listen, man, it's a long time, man. A long time in the
I feel really honored.
And so I'm hoping that someone out here watching, you know, will be able to take some jewels that you drop, and learn something. There's actually one more thing that we did miss, and I want you to touch on it briefly.
Sure.
Is just one thing. Share one little piece of knowledge that you wish that somebody would have shared with you, or something along the way that just a little nugget that might be able to help somebody else that's coming up like you from Brownsville who, you know, going through all this thing that might be struggling with some mental health issues. What's like one thing that you feel like I can give them a piece of this might make somebody's life a little bit easier? Which one little piece?
Not focusing on the negative and focus on the positive. And what I mean by that is there were definitely a lot of people growing up who discouraged me from even like going to college, doing certain things. You know, I say my idea, that's a dumb idea, that's stupid. And I expect that from people my age, you know, like millennials and stuff. But when it comes from like older people, like people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, you know, like literally people that saw me grow up and like, you know, most of them like around, you know, with my mom's friends and stuff like that, most of them were born down south. So they're coming from a different era where we didn't have education. You know, we got married at 18. You know, we had 3 or 4 kids with our husbands. Like we didn't have, you know, education. We didn't have college degrees. We didn't have time for self-care or all these other things you're talking about, Crystal. So when I told people that like I'm going back to school to get my master's, they was like, why? You got a bachelor's? Like, why you need a master's? Right. Or like, you know, I told them like, I'm going to Brockport. Where's Brockport? Can't you just go to a community college? Like it was selling myself short. And they didn't know any better. You know, they're a product of their environment. But I, like I said, definitely focus on the negative instead of the positive. You will have so many people that will be like, that's a dumb idea. That's stupid. You shouldn't go for that. You should do this instead.
What are they doing, right?
Well, you're not living my life. And secondly, you know, we all got to crawl before we walk. That's like one quote my mom always says. You always got to crawl before you walk. You always, you know, do something small until you could do better.
Right.
And that's something I'm definitely continuing to tell myself. But as long as you're, you know, working hard, you have people in your circle that cheer you on. You know, if you have negative people, shoo them away.
Get them out of there.
Get them out of your life. Even if they're just grown adults. No, y'all gotta go too. I don't need that negative energy.
Right.
And focus on the positive and keep doing you. Don't let anybody stop you. I don't care if it's something small, like you doing hair in your mama's basement. We gotta start somewhere. Okay. And before you know it, you'll be doing hair in your own shop.
Facts.
And you're gonna have a great clientele. I know so many people that, you know, started off in their mom's basement doing hair, nails, barbering, all of that. And look at them now, owning shops here in Rochester and in New York City. I'm here for it.
That's a fact.
So when people are like, "Oh, I'm starting a business," "Oh, I'm writing a book," I'm supporting all of it. Especially Black businesses, I'm supporting all of it because we definitely got to support each other. And you, like I said, you got to start small. So ain't nothing wrong with that.
Well, hey, thank you again.
Yeah.
With that, that's going to conclude the interview. Look forward to having you on again. Inshallah, God willing. Listen, man, we appreciate your time. We'll see you soon. King life, queen life, KQ life.